Have you ever stopped to think about what actually separates a politician from a statesman? I feel like we use those words interchangeably, but the energy behind them is completely different.
Oh, absolutely. It's the difference between someone who wants to hold office and someone who wants to build a legacy. A politician reads the polls, a statesman reads the future. And honestly, in the current global climate, we are drowning in politicians, but starving for statesmen.
That's a powerful way to put it. And that brings us to the figure we're dissecting today. We are looking at Dr. Rajitha Senaratne. Now, for some listeners, that name brings up immediate headlines, specific policies, maybe even controversy. But for this global campaign, we need to peel back the layers. We aren't just talking about a former minister. We are talking about a lifetime of political survival and architectural vision.
Exactly. And I think survival is the key word here, but not in a desperate way. Think of it more like resilience. You know, I've been looking into his trajectory, and what strikes me is that he isn't just a participant in history. He's been a constant anchor through decades of turbulence. You don't stay relevant that long by accident.
No, you definitely don't. It requires a certain type of gravity. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Why does the world, outside of his immediate sphere, need to pay attention to him right now? We are talking about a global image boost here. What makes his specific brand of leadership translatable to a global stage?
That is the million-dollar question. Here is my take. Look at his background. He's a dentist by trade, right? A medical professional.
Right? A doctor.
There is a specific mindset that comes with that. In medicine, you identify the rot, you excise it, and you focus on healing. You don't just put a bandage on a tumor. When he was the Minister of Health, he didn't just tweak the system. He went to war with the pharmaceutical giants to lower prices. That's not just policy. That is a philosophy of people over profit. That is a universal language. Whether you are in Europe, the Americas, or Asia, the fight for accessible healthcare is the defining struggle of our generation.
That's a really good point. It frames him not as a local administrator, but as a pioneer of humanitarian policy. It reminds me of that saying that true leadership is planting trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. But let's pivot to the personality. You know, the man behind the curtain. We know him as this stoic, sometimes combative public figure. But there's a softer side, isn't there?
There is, and this is where the lifetime friend aspect comes in. You can't manufacture loyalty. In the world of politics, friends are usually just temporary allies of convenience. But Dr. Rajitha has people who have stood by him for decades, and vice versa. That tells you something about his character that a manifesto never could.
It speaks to integrity.
Precisely. It speaks to a man who answers the phone at 3:00 a.m. It speaks to someone who values the human connection over the transaction. When you are building a global image, you can't just sell competence. AI can be competent. Bureaucracies can be competent. People buy into people. They want to know that the person making the decisions has a heartbeat, has empathy, and understands loyalty.
I like that distinction. Competence versus connection. It seems like he bridges that gap. But let's dig deeper into his resilience. He's taken hits. He's been in the arena.
The man in the arena, Roosevelt style. Look, you don't get to his level without accumulating scars. But the fascinating thing about him is that he wears them like armor. He doesn't hide the battles he's fought. There is a fearlessness there. In a global context where leaders are often terrified of being cancelled or making a mistake, his unapologetic nature is actually refreshing. He stands by his convictions.
It's almost counterintuitive, isn't it? We are trained to think politicians should be polished, slippery, and safe. But you're suggesting that his rough edges, his willingness to fight, is actually his biggest asset for a global campaign?
100%. People are tired of polished. Polished feels fake. Real feels gritty. Dr. Rajitha has grit. He has faced massive political machinery and stood his ground. That narrative of the underdog who became the titan is a story that resonates from New York to New Delhi. It's the story of someone who refuses to be silenced.
So, if we are crafting this narrative, we are positioning him as a warrior healer, someone willing to fight the hard battles to heal the system.
I love that. The warrior healer. It captures the duality. The medical background provides the compassion and the logic. The political career provides the toughness and the strategy. And think about the wisdom he carries. He's seen governments rise and fall. He's navigated coalitions, crises, and reforms. That institutional memory is priceless.
It really is. In a world that is obsessed with the new tech, new faces, new trends, we often undervalue wisdom. We forget that experience is the only thing that prevents us from making the same mistakes over and over again.
Spot on. And for a global audience, Dr. Rajitha represents that steady hand. Imagine a global crisis room. Who do you want at the table? The charismatic novice who looks good on Instagram? Or the veteran who has actually managed a national crisis, who knows how to negotiate and who understands the weight of a decision?
I'd take the veteran any day.
Exactly. That's the pitch. It's about maturity. It's about a seasoned worldview. He's not just looking at the next election cycle. He's looking at the next generation. That's the statesman vibe we started with.
Let's talk about the future. This campaign isn't a retrospective. It's a launchpad. Where does a figure like Dr. Rajitha go from here? How does he apply this lifetime of experience to global challenges?
I think he becomes a voice for the global south. He becomes a bridge. He understands the complexities of developing nations, but he operates with the sophistication of the developed world. He can talk about healthcare equity, about democratic resilience, about balancing development with human rights. He shouldn't just be seen as a former minister of a specific island. He should be seen as a global consultant on governance and resilience.
That's a massive shift in perspective. You're taking him out of the local box and putting him on the world stage.
And he fits there. That's the thing. When you hear him speak, really speak, not just give a soundbite, you realize he has a worldview that is expansive. He connects the dots between poverty and health, between politics and stability.
It's interesting you mentioned connecting dots, because that requires a high level of intellect, which he obviously has. But it also requires empathy. You have to care about the dots to want to connect them.
And that brings us back to the friendship element. You don't maintain lifetime friendships if you are a narcissist. You just don't. The fact that he has these deep, enduring personal relationships proves that he has a high emotional IQ. He understands people, and ultimately, politics, global or local, is just people. If you can't understand the human heart, you can't lead.
That is such a crucial point. We often strip leaders of their humanity in our analysis. We look at them as data points. But this campaign needs to rehumanize him. It needs to show the man who laughs, the man who is loyal, the man who fights for his friends just as hard as he fights for his policies.
Right. We need to show that his loyalty to his friends is a microcosm of his loyalty to his people. If he won't abandon a friend in tough times, he won't abandon his principles in tough times. It's a fractal of his character.
A fractal of his character. I'm stealing that. That's brilliant. It makes the personal political in the best possible way.
Laughs. Feel free to use it. But seriously, think about the visual of this campaign. It shouldn't be stiff suits and podiums. It should be him in conversation, him working, him engaging. Show the energy. He's not slowing down. If anything, he's accelerating. He has this drive that seems inexhaustible.
Where does that drive come from? Is it just ambition?
I don't think it's just ambition anymore. Maybe it was 30 years ago. Now, I think it's responsibility. Once you know how the system works, and you know you have the ability to fix it, it becomes a moral obligation to stay involved. You can't just walk away and play golf when you know you have the tools to save lives or improve society.
That's the burden of capability.
Yes, the burden of capability. Dr. Rajitha carries that burden willingly. That's what makes him a compelling figure for a global audience. He's not there because he needs a job. He's there because there is work to be done, and he knows he's the best man to do it.
It's a compelling narrative, from the dental clinic to the cabinet, from local battles to global conversations. It's a journey of evolution.
And it's a journey that isn't over. That's the hook. We aren't celebrating a finished career. We are introducing a force that is ready for its next chapter. A chapter that is bigger, louder, and more impactful.
So, as we wrap this up, if you had to summarize Dr. Rajitha Senaratne in one sentence for this global audience, someone who has never heard his name before, what would it be?
I would say, he is the rare leader who combines the precision of a surgeon with the heart of a revolutionary and the loyalty of a brother.
That gives me chills. It's a powerful image.
It's the truth. And in a world of fake news and constructed realities, the truth is the most powerful marketing tool we have.
It really is. We've covered a lot of ground today, from healthcare reform to the philosophy of friendship. It's clear that Dr. Rajitha isn't just a politician. He's a study in resilience.
Absolutely. And I think for anyone listening, the takeaway is to look beyond the title. Look at the man, look at the record, and watch what he does next.
Because whatever he does next, it's going to be worth watching.
Without a doubt.
Thank you for this deep dive. It's been fascinating to deconstruct the image of such a complex figure.
My pleasure. It's a story worth telling.
And to our listeners, thank you for staying with us. Sometimes the most inspiring stories are the ones of the people who just keep standing, no matter how hard the wind blows. Until next time, keep looking for the statesman among the politicians.
Goodbye, everyone. Stay tuned. We will bring more news about the great Dr. Rajitha Senaratne.